biggest questions, or at least some of them, in the Big Ten this year, I want to start in Penn State. I was doing a podcast with Tyler Donahue over at Lions 24/7 earlier this week, and we were talking about Mike Yurcich, new offensive coordinator for those unfamiliar at Penn State. And he's replacing a one-year stop in offensive coordinator up there. And the talk right now, Kirk Ciarrocca, I was stalling so I could remember his name. They're replacing Kirk Ciarrocca. And it's not that Ciarrocca was a disaster last year, just for a number of reasons it didn't work out. And so now Mike Yurcich comes in. There is a thought that he is a better fit with the personnel they have up there. And Sean Clifford is the returning quarterback there, and they've got a really good stable of running backs. But here's what we're watching. That's a very, very kind of on-the-ground view. With Penn State, I'm zoomed out a little bit more, and the question is, how much juice can Mike Yurcich squeeze out of this offense? This is not an offense that has the kind of firepower that that an Alabama had last year or something like that. No one's expecting that. But everyone has got potential. You've got a maximum potential. Every offense has a maximum potential. Penn State didn't come close to achieving their maximum potential offensively last year. So what I want to know about Yurcich, and this is a this year moving forward sort of prism, I want to know how close they come to maximizing their potential. Because this accomplishes two things. Number one, when you look up and down Penn State's schedule, everything from the Wisconsin game to the Indiana game to the Iowa game, you get later on in the season at Ohio State, you've got several games, Michigan comes in there, where those point spreads are going to be tight, and they're going to be either way, touchdown or less. This is the answer as to which side of that win-loss column you fall in those games. And that's the difference in several games. We're talking about the difference between 10-2 and 7-5 here. And I don't expect 7-5 from Penn State, but if we get 10-2 or better, then we're talking about a maximization of potential offensively. The second thing that accomplishes is all of a sudden, if I'm a quarterback of the future, if I'm wide receiver talent in the future and I'm watching that, then all of a sudden I'm saying, well, I don't care what I've been told and what my eyeballs have seen in the past, because I'm not going to play at Penn State in the past. This point moving forward, this Yurcich guy, maybe I can't spell his last name, but I can spell TD, and it looks like he can get me in the end zone a lot. That's something to watch with Penn State. How about Wisconsin? One of the teams I'm most excited to watch in the country this year is Wisconsin. And it's because I know what the identity or the perception of Wisconsin's identity is, with good reason. It's been that since forever. It is ground and pound, ball control, play solid defense, some greater than the total of the individual parts. Maybe that's Wisconsin again this year, and that works for them now. But I think the ceiling is a little bit higher offensively this year. I think the explosive potential of this passing game is unlike anything that we've seen Wisconsin put on the field. They were on their way to doing it last year. It is my belief that Wisconsin was on their way to doing it last year. And then Danny Davis is out. And then Kendrick Pryor is out. These are two receiver talents who are returning this year. Graham Mertz, a lot of these guys who were on the field at least for the first week, they dazzled. They had a standalone game to open the season. I want to say it was Illinois. Whoever it was, they lit them up. And then COVID ravaged the team. And you never saw this team. Injuries and COVID prevented you from seeing the Wisconsin Badgers and what they could have been last year. Well, now that we got all that mess out of the way, we get to see them this year. And we get to see them in high-profile matchups early on in the season. And that's why I don't think it's going to take very long. Paul Chryst takes over those play-calling duties. It's not going to take very long to know where Wisconsin stands. And what you may be doing is you may be watching and you're looking at the bottom line on your TV screen as you're watching another game, and instead of those usual 13-6 halftime Wisconsin, all of a sudden you see Wisconsin's got 24 on the board. Man, Wisconsin got 27 on the board at halftime. I must have turned the ball over a lot. No, it just says Mertz has 3 touchdown passes. Wow, what are they doing? Well, they're up in the tempo, and they're up in the explosive rate of this offense, I think, is what they're going to do this year. How about Ohio State? General question here, because we've talked a lot about the specific quarterback element, but this ties into C.J. Stroud and the whole separate talking point that you could have with the Ohio State quarterback room with Mr. Ewers coming into town. When will Ohio State hit stride? All these elite teams, they eventually hit stride, whatever stride's going to be for that year. When will it be hit for Ohio State? This is not a Texas A&M situation. Ohio State does not ease into the season. They got a conference road game to open the year at Minnesota, and then they've got Oregon at home the very next week. And those are two teams that are capable of beating you if you don't play to the level that you're capable of playing to. So where is the stride? And we're talking about multiple facets here. We're not just talking about offense. We're not just talking about C.J. Stroud and maybe a young presence at running back and a couple of other new guys we got to break in with all the potential in the world, but they're still young. And that secondary and that linebacking core, and wondering, are we going to be on skates early in the season there? Multiple facets. When is the stride going to be hit? Now, whenever this team does hit its stride, they're capable of winning a national title. But we've seen this in the past. We've seen it before. You'll have a team that eventually wins a title. Have some of the ugliest games in the world early in the season. Bama's done it. Ohio State has done this. When will they hit their stride? And that's very open-ended. And then fourthly, and this is about Nebraska, what is the path for Scott Frost this year? What is success for them? I got their records here. They've gone 4-8, 5-7, 3-5 last year. What's the path this year? Martinez is back at quarterback. Everyone wants to assume health for everyone. We can hope for health for him, but they've got a chance to open 3-0. They've got 3 winnable games to open the season. I think they got Illinois, got Buffalo, but then this stretch of games that comes up, find me the path. Because their over-under win total in Vegas is 6 right now, with a little bit of juice tilted towards the over. They got to go to Oklahoma. That's an out-of-conference game. They go to Michigan State. They got Northwestern. They've got Michigan. They go to Minnesota. They've got Ohio State. They go to Wisconsin. They got Iowa. Brutality. And so this is not the second year for Scott Frost. This is his 4th year at the helm. And there are a lot of people, nice as can be, patient as can be, who are growing impatient in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so I want to know what the path is. And what will an upgraded Nebraska team be capable of doing? I guess is what I'm trying to ask there. Something has to click. Like something different has to. So you have to have a different feel, I guess is the way I'm trying to say it, to this year's Nebraska team. Because whatever the initial approach was, we have seen the results now. That's not a small sample size. That's 3 years worth of sample size. So those are some of the questions I'm asking about the Big Ten going into 2021.